Wayne Dunn is a staple here in London. I was at an event actually a number of months ago at the back of the food bank where Wayne was given the Governor General's Sovereign's Medal Award for volunteering. And one of the delights of being there, I appreciate you asking me there, Wayne, was just hearing about all the things that you have done in the past for London, not just for the food bank lately, and especially around food related issues. But you've been at this a long time. How did you first get started in it all? And thanks for doing this today. I really appreciate it. But I think we're eager to hear what it is that kind of drives you.
Well, it's nice being part of the community and having friends like yourself, Glenn. I I would probably go back a lot of years ago with my mom and dad,
Mm,
and they they were parishioners down at the St. Peter's Basilica and were involved in the St. Vincent de Paul and
mm,
food programs down there. And I remember going with my mom and my dad to some of these places around Christmas time and delivering hampers and that. And as part of the Scrooge food drive, and when I went to Lucas, that's a lot of years ago.
it's a lot of years, yeah.
And from the early going on, even in my business career, really I wanted to do a few things, and one would be to um, help children of that needed it, and hence that was my involvement with the Sunshine Golf Classic for
Yeah.
through the Sunshine Foundation with physically disabled and life-threatening illnesses with children. And another was veterans and the elderly. And I was on the board at Parkwood and North St. Joe's and that for a while and chaired the tribute dinner. So I did that. And the other thing really came to me is really just helping those in need with plain and simple food.
Yeah.
And hence the start of the business cares that you asked Ed and I to do 22 years ago. And
Yeah.
those are the kind of the three main main areas. And that the fourth, like quite honestly, is probably that that I'll share. It's not one I really want to be involved in, but I am now in full guns a blazing, and that's in memory of my daughter Allison that we lost 2 years ago with brain cancer. But we've started a demo cancer run, and all the proceeds go to glioblastoma research. And we've just come off the third run. She passed away just over 2 years ago, and we did the first run a few months after, and we just completed the third one a month ago or so. And we're now funding a lot of feature research grants and projects across the country, and it's all to make a difference in others that potentially will get the disease and help them and their families. So
Yeah.
those are the areas right now. They're all very important to me, and they all remain it. So we're off going on the London, their 23rd edition of the Business Cares Food Drive. Can you believe that? How many years?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I do think around the Allison piece, though, and I think it's important. I appreciate you opening up about it. But, we have Allison's garden at the back of the food bank that's been dedicated to Allison. And it's not just because she was your daughter. This kind of stuff around homelessness, about food insecurity, about helping people with mental health issues, so on and so forth, was really her thing. That's what she did in her life, right? That was her occupation, that was her passion, and she really pursued it both here and in Waterloo. So I think that seems to be a natural fit because that's what she was like, right?
It certainly was. I go back in her early years, and she went to STA in London here in St. Teresa, and she helped me with the Sunshine Golf Classic, and then she was a big part of our Business Cares food drive
Yeah.
when she was in London.
Yeah.
And she took that away with her. She went to Laurier and then Humber for international studies, and ended up in Varanasi, India, helping and setting up women's and children's literacy programs. And she was there for 7 months, came back, worked for World Literacy a little bit, and then landed with Health of Friendship in Waterloo, which a lot of similarities to the London Food Bank
Yeah.
with food hampers, but homelessness, the men's mission, and that was her mission in life.
Yeah.
And she left us way too early.
Yeah.
It's
How old was
there's
she, Wayne, when she passed away?
33
Ah,
and with three little kids, the oldest being 5 at the time and the youngest was 1.
yeah.
So we've had that to deal with. And
Yep.
it's we miss her so much, but we can continue to grieve and mourn, but the best way out of it is to manage it. And by managing it, what we do is try to do good things for other people. And that's what she would do, and what she would want us to do. If the roles were reversed, I can guarantee Allison would probably be talking with you today about maintaining the business cares and doing some things like that. That was her.
Yeah. One of the things I delight about it is that, and I've thought about it increasingly, I think, over the last few months, is that usually you think about the legacy that parents leave to kids, right? Like you talked about your parents and what
Yeah.
they did it, when you were young. But the legacy that Allison has left with you, like it's profound. It's not just local, it's not just in London, and it's not just for her kids, it's for her parents. Like I have seen you and Diane, both your wife, become more animated about some of these things and the willingness to talk, commit to community, to help people that are vulnerable. That's Allison's legacy. And it works itself out every day in you. I've known you for a lot of years, but I have seen that difference since her passing.
Well, thanks for saying that. And but it means so much to us. And
Yeah.
that's what helps in the grief because the grief like this doesn't go away.
Yeah.
But like I just said, it's how you manage it, and by talking to other people and helping other people that have also lost children or have lost somebody really close. I'm not an expert by any means, but I know our story and what we've done, and
Yeah.
I actually, both Diane and I feel pretty good about it, and our other two kids do, and so we're going to continue it, and so whatever we can do to help. Like I remember Allison made a point. If you remember, even that through the when she was sick a few years ago, and you were just starting your the spring food drive, and it was right when she was diagnosed, and she was going through some real troubled times. But she actually said to me, she said, "Dad, you make sure you're down with the London Food Bank doing this stuff."
Hmm.
And she said that was that important to her. And she knew we would be doing business cares again, and
Yeah.
she knew we were going to be doing a run for it. She really didn't like that at the beginning, but she came around knowing that we were doing it because we're going to help other people.
Yeah. That's her
So
legacy. It's
yeah,
wonderful.
absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the stuff that you've done. I mean, I think it's fair to say the food bank has been around 36 years. We've been doing business cares for over 20 of those years. But it really is true that the arrival of business cares took a few years to really get up to where it's at now. But the arrival of business cares changed the whole dynamic in London around food security. I think up until that time, Wayne, everybody saw food banks as kind of temporary and, they're not going to be around long or whatever. And I understand all of that. And all of us wished for better conditions in our communities than what we were finding. But after each recession was going on, there were more and more people at risk and more people that were food secure. And child poverty and child food insecurity was also really growing. So the food bank's ability to be able to reach out and help with that largely depended on food drives. That we were able to go to the public and churches and faith groups and businesses and others would all help with that. But still, it was we had to depend on those. Those were what helped us to go through to meet the challenge of food security. But once business cares came, a real stability came to the food bank. I'll have you explain business cares in a minute to us all, but you do it in December, you do it over the Christmas season, and all of a sudden the food bank wasn't, working from food drive to food drive to food drive. All
Yeah.
of a sudden it had the resources that it needed to not just feed families and agencies, but also to begin to plan for better ways of distributing food. Was do you did you see when you first got business cares going at the food bank that was the kind of difference you were about to make? Did you see that, or no? You were just trying to help out.
No, that's the evolution of it, particularly the last 15 years, is just it's astronomical.
Yeah,
We really got into it it was a food drive from the business community.
yeah,
And our first year, we managed to pull together 36,000 pounds of food, which that's still a lot of food. But
amazing.
in comparison, this past year was about 600,000. And what's happened over the last multi years is the food drive, as you said, the food component of it is quite important, but even the change there of getting into of the non-perishables, so more nutritious food. We've done I think a good job in that the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Fresh, and really expanded that way. So we're still after food, but we're also after checks, because people, sometimes a lot easier for them, and also it's a lot easier for the food bank and to be able to receiving the type of checks that we're providing now to go into other type of things. So for instance, the community refresh program. So we purchased a food bank truck for that, a refrigerated one. And that was all from funds of business cares. And so there's a business model behind it. And likewise, the community harvest program, where, like, for us to donate 50 to $100,000 to that every year, but the return of that out of the harvest, from the farmers and everything, is so big. Like, it's 10 times that.
Yeah.
And I see with what we've done there, the greenhouses, and we're continually trying to look at other business models of things, what to add onto the food, or to purchase things that are really in need. And that's not our responsibility, that's the food banks, but to purchase, I think it's 80% of the milk and food, or pardon me, milk and eggs over the course of the year comes from funds from business cares.
Yeah.
And so by seeing the impact Biz Cares has done in that, it's also expanded to way beyond the business community. Where the business community is the core of it, but we have institutions now involved. We have City Hall involved. The representation we have from, like, seniors, from students, like on our committee, we have the LEAP program that Wendy Glover manages from Catholic Central. We have access to upwards of a pool of 200 students to help volunteer, and we need them. Yeah. So we have a few students on our committee, and that's to show them, that the older people like myself, we won't do it forever, but we're repopulating it, but we're showing the younger people what's involved. So yeah. It's become a dynamic of business cares of, yes, it's a 3-week campaign, but as you and I know, Glenn, it's pretty well almost year round right now. Yeah. We'll help out the spring drive and the fall drive. We're there to support in any way, but the calls and the activities that help, like London District Construction Association, they do events throughout the whole year now, supporting business cares. Yeah. And pool it all together for us in December. The home builders do the same. Yeah. And like, we have like 300 members from both organizations. And you look at things like that, of the outreach now that we have and what's happening. It's I got into it knowing it was a 3-week campaign. Well, quite honestly, it's probably 6-7 full months right now, and that's just fine. Yeah, because that's the difference that we're making.
And just to be clear, that we're talking about things at a systems level here, which is very important. Like, I think people think of, okay, business cares, a bunch of businesses, or how many businesses is it, Wayne? 700?
Yeah, over 700 in the past few years, each year.
Yeah, that's amazing. So people out there are thinking, okay, well, those businesses get together, they help the food bank at Christmas time. And part of the reason why businesses are so involved with it is because they don't look at it as just the food bank. They look at it as all the agencies that the food bank is helping as well. So Business Cares is busy helping the Salvation Army and Mission and Women's Community. It goes on and on and on. And that's right. I mean, that's the way that the business community looks at it. They see the food bank as kind of the broker or the funnel through which all of that generosity is spread out. But the idea is to spread it out and to give it to other people. So in that sense, it's the systems level. But the other one, you mentioned community refresh. So there's a situation where we were meeting with the city, and they were really having trouble because so much food from grocery stores was going to landfills and filling up the landfill. And this was, surplus food or whatever. So the province began to turn the screws on all the communities in Ontario and said, look, that's not good for the environment. You guys need to find other solutions. So, excuse me, so the food bank made this suggestion. We already work with grocery stores. If we can divert that food from landfills to grocery stores, that would be huge. It would involve the grocery stores getting the food out earlier, so it's not bad when we get it, that it's still good and we can get it out. But then it comes to the food bank, and it immediately gets out there to all of these other agencies and the people that we help at the food bank. The problem is that as a food bank, we didn't have the infrastructure to be able to do it. You know, that ability to be able to go around and collect all of that food from the grocery stores and pick it up. They weren't going to do that themselves. So we had to do that. And Business Care stepped up and bought the vehicles for doing it. Right? I mean, and now all of a sudden that's running. That stuff isn't going to the landfill. And we're talking hundreds of tons of food a year that are no longer going there. So it's an environmental win. It's also a food security win, but it's something that the business community made possible because the food bank was unable to do it. I think at that level, even the greenhouse thing that's happened, Business Cares is not just interested, it seems to me, which is why I appreciate it, appreciate you. It's not just interested in, these little mom and pop kind of things that we're doing, which are all important. But we have to change these systems around. As a community, we've got to be better, and the business community stood behind that. I think you really see it that way, because I know in the times we talk about it, Wayne, we keep talking about these kind of things, correct?
Yeah, it's a big problem out there, but we have a vehicle. We have a big vehicle here with businesses and the community surrounding. They know Business Cares is 100% volunteer driven,
Hmm.
and to get all these people involved, one of the easiest, or what helps us to explain, especially around Christmas time, is you're right. We are helping 30 other agencies,
Yeah,
and the list of agencies that we're helping, that's doing things together as a team and a unit.
yeah,
And so it that's I'm really proud of BizCares for that, as our reach out, or if people, other organizations need it, that we're there to help them. And having it go through the food bank like we do, it's perfect. And I think the difference that we end up making, being able to do all these different things and
sure.
getting the community at large involved for as much as, like, it really, it's amazing. Um, we have a big problem coming up this year. We all know it. Inflation, I don't have to really talk about it. I've been warning about that for the last 18 months, and sure enough, nobody would have expected to be this high. But it's an issue out there, and lost jobs and things like that. There's a lot of people hurting, and we see that. There's also a lot of people that are doing well, and a lot of businesses that have really benefit by various things of the economy over the last few years. And that's where our hope is, that we'll do more than okay this coming year. And I used to really worry,
Hmm.
having a goal here or go there, whatever. And I learned in the first year of COVID, take the goals off the table, let the community decide from their heart what they want to give. We never ask us an amount of money from anybody, but it's amazing. Londoners coming up and putting all the, between food and money together. It's amazing. And that's how it works. Like Glenn, that grocery weekend we do. So we kick off December 1 for 3 weeks. We're hard at it right now. But the first Saturday and Sunday in December, 3 and 4, we're at 30 grocery stores in the London area, each manned by a truck and a pool of volunteers of probably 20 to 30 per day. We're there Saturday and Sunday. The amount of food and money we raise out of that is substantial.
Yeah.
And that's the good kickoff for BizCares. It gives us a big amount of food there. Our warehouse this year is going to be at the Agriplex, which is fabulous.
Mm.
So we'll store the food there for the 3 weeks, and other businesses will get involved during the 3 weeks with their staffing, and lots of campaigns and contests are held amongst businesses. And ideally, the corporation itself will normally match or send a check into us, matching whatever the employees do, or whatever the case is. But we end up with a lot of food and a lot of businesses and staff involved because of all that.
Right.
And having the grocery weekend kick off, and then it goes for the 3 weeks, and we're at various other events during the campaign. London Chamber of Commerce is in big with us this year, and they're doing an event, and they donated a huge check just for the mayor's breakfast that couldn't be held this past January. They gave the proceeds to us.
Yeah.
So that's a good start. And we have having the home builders and the construction association and L-Star. They all are doing all their separate events for us. The London Nights, Tampon Tuesday. That's another thing. Even like women's feminine hygiene products, we're always in need of things like that, and baby food, of stuff. So parts of our campaign just do feminine products. Another part will do cereal drives. Like it's amazing what people are doing. So that's the word that we kind of spread out. And over the period of those 3 weeks in December, all these businesses come together. And quite honestly, it's an easy ask at Christmas time.
Yeah.
It truly is. Like nobody says no. It's they may not give as much as they would like to or have in the past, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll, like, you know what, it's that's how we work. And but the results all the time are so warm. And we do this big wrap up. I call it a morning of magic. So it's December 21 this year. Be at the Agriplex, and it's 8 in the morning, and we have all these groups come together. And it's not me blabbering for half an hour or an hour. I blabber a bit, I guess, but it really is about these people and their groups sharing their stories of the campaign, and they're heartwarming, whether it's from Grocery Weekend, tons of stories come out of that, or all these other events from the companies. And like the all these big organizations will come in and they'll give us a big check from their members and everything else. And Launa, Brandon McKinnon, he's always involved too.
Construction
And
training.
So like, so what I'm trying to even say here and try to do, it comes from all sectors of areas, and that's what makes it go. But it really is a morning of magic. It ends up being a lot of food, a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it takes a few hours to figure out what all the totals are, but we do it, and the community is that much better for it.
And as far as the Chamber of Commerce goes, I mean, I was with you a couple of years ago. It was supposed to be kind of secret, but we were at the Chamber of Commerce, and they gave a very generous gift to Business Cares right in December, in time for Business Cares. But it was in memory of Allison and for you. It was their commitment to you to say that they understood that. And I was just so impressed with that. Like, it wasn't just helping the needy. It wasn't just business transactions or whatever it is. You have been part of the Chamber of Commerce, right? You're an important business person in the city, but you also put a humanitarian face on the business community. They saw that, they understood that Allison was like that. They respected it, and they donated heavily towards it that year. I thought that was a remarkable moment.
It's heartwarming, like for Diane and I and our family to see the outpour of all these organizations. Shows you what London, we may be a growing city in that too, but we're still a small city in terms of people really do care and take care of others. And I'll use the run that we do for Allison in September. It's called Dunn with Cancer. And we partner with the Dam Hill Marathon organizers, but this is a great example. So we need lots of volunteers. Well, here I have volunteers from the food bank and staffing, like you and Jane and your family were there, and like it goes on. They come and help over at Dunn with Cancer. And fast forward, I had the Brain Tumor Foundation. They're going to be captains at a grocery store, and also they want to volunteer sorting food down at the food bank. And I see a lot of these groups, what they've even done for us personally, like the words of support and kindness, and a lot of checks have been written in Allison's memory for sure, like tons from all aspects. And whether it goes to our glioblastoma research or the London Food Bank, it's all great. It sends a real nice message, and it's like I say, it's pretty special to our family.
Yeah. And, I think to be clear, we're talking here millions and millions of pounds of food. That's what we're talking, right? When you look at the over 20 years of doing this and all the stuff that's come in. So we purchase food with that, with the money that also comes in, but also the food from Grocery Weekend and other things. Like, it's millions and millions of pounds worth of food. And that's what stabilized actually the whole system. When COVID came, the health unit visited us and said, look, you've got to keep going as a food bank. You can't close your doors because so many are depending on you to be able to deliver. And we knew that, and we welcomed that, and we tried to step up the best we could. But you have to have a secure system to be able to do that. And if all you're doing is just getting this from food drives and things like that, especially during COVID, that was going to be a hard task. And many food banks across the country couldn't meet that challenge because COVID had shut so many things down. In London, we kind of sailed right through that. because business cares had provided us that stability to be able to do it. I think that the stability that the business community offered in the time of COVID was remarkable. Also, we spent over $1 million one year funding all the homeless lunches that were happening out there. A lot of that came from government that we didn't want to spend on the food bank itself, so we put it out there. But business care stepped up. I remember developers coming down and seeing me and offering us like $100,000 or $50,000 to help with the homeless lunch program for all of those groups. So what I'm saying, I guess, is it's not just about the money and it's not just about the goodwill. I think it really is about the stability that you have to bring to a food insecure situation in a community in order to be able to tackle it and make it better. If you don't have that stability, then everything is just venture out there trying to do what you can in so many different areas. But you guys have given us that.
Well, thank you for saying that. Glenn, I feel happy and confident knowing we are stable. Business cares and the support we have. If we can go through COVID, and I remember that first year of COVID, I remember it so vividly.
Yeah.
All of us were worried. We had to do all our meetings by remote and everything. We still pulled everything off, and that was in December. And I remember even firing it up, and that was a few months after Allison had passed away, and my head was obviously just in a different spot. But I remember, that's another one, her saying, Dad, you make sure you're doing business cares this year in December.
Yeah.
And by doing it, I'll tell you, you see how the community came together on that one. Yeah. And our committee did, and the outpour, we had a record amount come in that year.
I know, it was amazing.
I couldn't believe it. Sure, we had lots that couldn't do the stuff. And remember, we normally do pickups for a lot of businesses. We didn't do any.
Yeah.
So the check really went, the campaign really went more to checks and plus grocery weekend.
Yeah.
And last year was the same.
Yeah.
Of a record amount. And that's what I'm expecting this year too with, I know you, Jane and I have talked, and my comment back right now would be, you know what, we're going to look after that. And that comes to the security and insecurity of what's out there right now. We're going to be there to help.
Wayne, we're out of time, but this has been a really special interview for me. I mean, we've become such good friends over the years, but also I think the importance of the business and corporate community in our biggest problems, whether it's homelessness, jobs, all of those things are very, very important. And we're about ready to step into business cares again. You're already having your committee meetings and they're going. So if there's anybody out there that wants to help with that, did they just contact you? How would they do that?
Yeah. So our whole website is up and running. It should be pretty well, even as of right now, we're in good shape there. If anyone has any special requests or questions or just wants to help in other ways, feel free to give me a call. Yeah. My cell number, you look after that, and I have no problem taking calls and at least directing or giving people where to go, but I'll help myself as well.
Thank you for all you've done for this community. Thank you for all you've done for Allison's legacy, but I think also the stability that you have provided when it comes to food in this community is unparalleled. And I just want to thank you and all of your partners in the business community for doing that. Thanks for doing this today, Wayne. It means a lot to me.
Thanks, Glenn. And likewise back to you. Jonas, you're a great friend, and anything for you and Jane.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Wayne.